Welcome to the European Journal of Ultrasound podcast. You are listening to an interview with Professor Andreas Hagendorff, Congress President of the 40th Dreiländertreffen, and Professor Helge Gilja, Congress President of the 28th EUROSON, which are held together in Leipzig this year. The current Congress motto is Science and Education, Ultrasound with focus on technical aspects. Professor Hagendorff, what are your objectives for this Congress?
The motto is Science and Education and focus on technical aspects. We have planned for the Congress at the first day an overall educational aspect. There are some courses with the different topics of ultrasound. And on Thursday and Friday, as well as on Saturday, we have mainly the scientific sessions. And the scientific sessions, of course, are dealing with new technology and also political issues concerning ultrasound. Then we have many interactive sessions, pro and con sessions, and education sessions where we want to integrate the young generation to focus their scientific activities on ultrasound. Then there are some special lectures, of course, and also the cooperation with the industrial partners should be focused by some very interesting sessions. For instance, ultrasound meets therapy, so that we can get the link between diagnostics and controlling of therapy by ultrasound, for instance, in pulmonary embolism and chemotherapy patients in the field of cardiovascular imaging. These are very interesting sessions, and I hope we will have many participants on our Congress.
Professor Gilja, how did you go about planning the Congress program in order to highlight the focus on the technical aspects of ultrasound?
A very interesting aspect of planning a EUROSON Congress is that every national society is asked and challenged to come up with suggestions for lectures and subjects for lectures. In this way, high variation in themes and a wide international contributions are secured. And technical aspects is also highlighted in many sessions, some addressing it specifically, for instance, the elastography sessions, and in other more clinical sessions. I think also it's right to say that technology feeds into the issues very importantly and significantly. Good technology lectures can also generally feed into clinical problem solving, thus bridging the gap between bench and bedside, and in that sense also guide clinical practice. And science and education is both at the cornerstone, at the very center of AFSUM activity. We promote science through lots of publications and guidelines and so on. And education we support through postgraduate courses, also in this Congress. We have specific CUS courses also on the web. And not at least we have our EUROSON schools taking place all over Europe.
Professor Hagendorff, are there guest lecturers whose contributions you would particularly recommend to the Congress participants?
We have several very interesting honorary lectures or state-of-the-art lectures. Most of them will be held in English language. There are also some in German language. For instance, Hans Kolm honorary lecture, Point of Care Ultrasound, a mandatory tool for all clinicians. Or also the AFSUM lecture from Dr. Franca Meloni, Ablation in Primary and Secondary Liver Tumors. Also the EUROSON lecture we have to mention from Dr. Vito Cantisani, Ultrasound Elastography for Superficial Organs, How, When, Why. These are, I think, the English very interesting lectures. Then we have German lectures, state-of-the-art, more than only echoes, unconventional techniques for ultrasound imaging. And of course a very famous German ultrasound guy, Professor Wolfgang Warmke. He is very famous because he only shows brilliant ultrasound images. He is also in a honorary lecture of the DEGUM. I think this will be interesting lectures on the Congress.
The EUROSON Congress and the Dreiländertreffen are held together every few years. Professor Gilja, how important is networking in the field of ultrasound?
International networking is extremely important both in science and education. You know, we all are quite limited in our perspectives in each local society and each local hospital. So meeting fellow scientists and doctors and colleagues from other places really feeds into our interdisciplinary activity and can improve our daily practice back home. And the members of the Dreiländertreffen constitutes a majority of EPSA members, and accordingly to meet and mingle here in Leipzig is crucial for our interdisciplinary organization.
And finally, a question to both of you. What are you personally looking forward to the most in Leipzig? Professor Hagendorff?
I think a very important issue we want to focus is to become more integrative with therapeutical aspects and, of course, with the integration of the young generation into the scientific field of ultrasound. I think industrial partners who are interested in the ultrasound field are, for instance, in the cardiovascular field, the monitoring of hypertensive heart disease, the monitoring of heart failure, and the monitoring of alterations in cardiovascular diseases. But also the field of anticoagulation is very important. In all fields of medicines, we have to deal with patients who have to be anticoagulated. And I think the problem of monitoring these patients, especially by echocardiography, is one topic. We have to integrate pharmaceutical industry, which is engaged in this field. The main other important thing is to integrate students to be familiar with ultrasound. I think this is one of our most important issue we have to focus in the next years, especially in Germany. And also there are some highlights. We want to become more familiar with political questions. On this Congress, we have some lectures where political topics will be highlighted, and I think we should address also questions of reimbursement, of the integration of education and science in university hospitals as well as in other hospitals, the aspect of non-physicians in ultrasound. These are important aspects we have to focus on in the next times.
And you, Professor Gilja?
Yes, we have some new things coming up in the European societies now. And on the arena, for instance, we have just recently had new guidelines on gastrointestinal ultrasound released and published in Ultraschall and European Journal of Ultrasound. So there will be a specific session on these new guidelines, which I look very much forward to. Furthermore, elastography guidelines are now being updated, and we see more and more clinical applications of elastography in various fields of ultrasound in medicine. Furthermore, just to meet with industry and mingle with colleagues is for me a very positive experience in these congresses. And I also look forward to meet the city of Leipzig again, which we visited a few years ago. It's a beautiful city with a strong history that I look forward to meet again.
Thank you very much for your time.